My name is Sarita. I am working as a degree lecturer in computer science at Tribal Welfare Degree College, Devarakonda. Today I am going to discuss about multi-threading topic in Java. Okay, multi-threading in Java is a process of executing multiple threads simultaneously. Here simultaneously means we can execute the threads at the same time. At the same point of time we are able to execute multiple threads. That is called as simultaneously or concurrently. Generally what we will do, we will execute any program one after another. That is called as sequential execution. With the sequential execution we have to wait for one task. After the completion of one task only we can go to the next task. But with multi-threading we are able to execute any multiple tasks at the same time. With the help of the multi-threading we are able to achieve multitasking. What is the meaning of multitasking? Multitasking means we are able to perform multiple tasks at the same time. Concurrently we are able to achieve multiple tasks. This will save our time and it is effectively using the CPU. CPU will be effectively used with the help of the multi-threading. Suppose if we have multi-core CPU is there. Multi-core CPU is there in our computer. Each core will be effectively utilized by the multiple threads. Instead of wasting our CPU time, we can effectively use our CPU time. Okay, now we will see what is multitasking. Multitasking is a process of executing multiple tasks simultaneously. Just now I have given the explanation, right? Multiple tasks simultaneously means, suppose this is a parallel execution, right? First one task will be executed, after 1 second, after second, third, fourth. But parallel means at the same point of time, at 1 millisecond, everything is executed simultaneously. Now process based, here we can divide our multitasking into two ways. One is process based multitasking and the second one is thread based multitasking. Process based multitasking we will call it as multiprocessing. Thread based multitasking is called as multi-threading. Now we will see what is process based multitasking. Process based multitasking is nothing but multiprocessing. Here first we have to know how a process is executing. If any process want to execute, what it is required. If any process need to be executed, it needs some address space. Address space is nothing but if we take this as a process, each process requires code, data, files and staff registers. Right? This is a thread. This is called as a process. In process, each and every process should maintain some address space. Address space means what are the required resources to execute a process. First, every process needs some code, right? To be executed, it needs some code, it needs some data, and it needs some files also. And every process have its own staff. Staff means the temporary results will be stored in the staff. And registers means CPU will store the temporary results in the registers. Like that, each process is having its own data, code, and files. Right? That's why we call a process is heavyweight, because it is taking its own address space. But one more thing is, cost of communication between the process is high. Why? Because each and every process is CPU will face difficulty from changing one process to another process. Suppose CPU is currently executing process P1. Next, CPU has to execute process P2. Now, what is the task CPU has to do? It should remove all the address space or core data files of process P1, and it should bring all the address space of process P2. This is called as context switching. Context switching means changing from one process to the other process. This will take time because it is heavyweight. Process is having multiple things to maintain. A process is a heavyweight. Cost of communication between the process is high. Even the process communication is also will take more time. And this is the point just now I have given the explanation. Switching from one process to another requires some time for saving and loading registers, memory maps, updating list, etc. Just see here, switching. The switching is nothing but context switching. Context switching is taking more time because it should save the previous process details and it should load the next process details. That is nothing but switching. Switching time is more in process-based multitasking. Now we will see thread-based multitasking. How thread-based multitasking is more effective compared to process-based multitasking. We will see now. Threads share same address space. I will show with the help of a diagram. Suppose if it is a thread-based multitasking, this is the code, this is data, this is files, and this is register and stock. Register, stock, register, stock. This is a thread 1, this is thread 2, thread 3. Thread 1, thread 2, thread 3. Here you can observe here each thread is having its own register and stock because thread has its own memory. Thread should save its own temporary results in the stock and CPU should maintain results in the register. Right? But here you can observe core data files of these three threads. Thread 1, thread 2 and thread 3. These three threads are using or sharing the same core data files. That means we can say that a thread is lightweight because threads are sharing the address space. These three threads are sharing the same address space. That's why we are saying threads is lightweight and threads share the same address space. This point explained with the help of this diagram. Right? Cost of communication between the threads is also low because these are not changing the address space. Within the same address space, they are communicating with each other. If the thread 1 wants to communicate with thread 2, it is easy compared to the communication between the processes. Okay, now we can say, I can give the explanation of a thread in Java. A thread is a lightweight sub-process. What is nothing but sub-process? It is a part of a process. Within a process, we are creating thread. A thread is a lightweight sub-process, the smallest unit of processing. It is the smallest unit of processing. It is a separate part of execution. Thread can execute on its own way. It will not be affected by any other thread. Suppose if any process P1 is having 3 threads, T1, T2, T3, this T1 can execute its own task. It cannot be affected by another two threads. That means, suppose if thread 2 is having any difficulty, any problem, it is not executing properly, right? If it is not executing properly, it will not affect the thread 1. thread 1 can execute in its own way. It will not be affected by the thread 2 or thread 3. That's why we are saying it is a separate path of execution. It will not be affected by any other threads. Okay, threads are independent. Right? Just now I said threads are independent. If there occurs exception in one thread, it doesn't affect other threads. It uses a shared memory area. It is using the shared memory area. Okay. Now we will see life cycle of a thread. What is a thread? How many states it is going, or how many states it is having? When any thread is executing, what are the different states it will go through? Right? That is nothing but thread states. Right? A thread goes through the various states now. What are those states? I will explain now. See, a thread is going through various stages in its life cycle. From the creation of the thread through the distraction of the thread, we have different states for a thread. For example, a thread is born. Initially, thread will be created. That is called as born stage of a thread. After born, it starts execution. It will be start, then it will run, then it will dies. Right? The following diagram shows the complete life cycle of a thread. First, initially a thread will be created. This is a new state. When it is created, it will come under new state. Right? Next, with the help of the start method, we will start our thread which is created. That from the start state, it will go to runnable state. Right? From the runnable, it will go to running state. From the running state, a thread can go for waiting state. Sometimes we can make it into the waiting state. From the waiting state, again it can go to running state. After some time, the thread can go to running state. Right? When the thread is completed its execution, that is called as dead state. Right? I will give explanation of these three different states in the upcoming slides. Okay, now I will explain the different states of different threads one by one. I said, what is the first state of a thread? New thread. We will create a new thread. Right? Explanation of different thread states. First state of a thread is new. New. Whenever a new thread is created, it is always in the new state. Right? For a thread in new state, the code is not been run yet. Okay? That means just we have created the thread. We not executed the thread. It is not yet started its execution. That is called as new state. It just created. Next one is active state. When a thread invokes start method, our thread class is providing different methods for our thread. Right? Suppose I have created a thread 1. When this is called as new state now. When I use start method, t1.start. Now our thread execution thread is called as active state. When you use thread object.start method, it is called as active state. When a thread invokes start method, it moves from new state to the active state. This is a new state. Now our thread is coming to the active state. Next one is runnable state. What is the meaning of runnable state? A thread that is to run is then moved to the runnable state. From the active state, our thread will go to runnable state. Runnable state. In runnable state, the thread may be running or may be ready to run at any given instance of time. Suppose if our CPU is not ready, CPU is busy with some other thread. That's why our thread is waiting here. Our thread is waiting to be executed by the CPU. Whenever the CPU is free, our thread will go to the running state. Because CPU is not free, our thread is there in the runnable state now. That's why we are saying that scheduler will take the responsibility of providing CPU to this thread. That is the meaning of that. Moving the thread running state. A program implementing multi-threading requires fixed slice of time to each individual thread. Each and every thread runs for a short span of time. Okay. Generally, we will give each thread a particular time. Like round robin scheduling algorithm, right? We have round robin CPU scheduling algorithm in the operating system. What is the round robin CPU scheduling algorithm? It will give each process a fixed amount of time. That means for every process we will provide some fixed time. If we give 2 milliseconds of time, each process should execute only 2 milliseconds of time. After 2 milliseconds of time, it should leave the CPU. Like that, in the multi-threading also we can give each thread a fraction of time. After that time, that thread should leave the CPU. Like that, we will implement the multi-threading effectively. Next one is running state. What is running state? When the thread gets the CPU. Just now I said, our thread is in the runnable state. When our thread is getting CPU, it is called as running state, right? That means CPU is running or executing our thread. That will become a running state. Now our thread is currently running. It is moves from runnable to the running state. Generally, the most common change in the state of thread is from runnable to running, again back to runnable. Right? Next one is black or waiting state. You can see here. I will show this diagram again. Here there is a waiting state, right? You can observe this diagram properly. You can easily get. This is waiting state, right? We said first we have created the thread, that is a new thread. After that, this is called as a new state with the help of the start method, which is available in the thread class. That will go to the runnable. Why it is there in the runnable state? Because CPU is not available. When the thread scheduler is allocated the CPU to our thread, that will invoke the run method. The run method is also a predefined method in the thread class. It will be overridden by our thread class. The run method is the overridden method. That method should be written in our class. From that it will go to running state. From running state, sometimes we have to keep our thread may go to waiting state. Okay, now we will come to our slide. See, what we said, black state or waiting state. What is black state? Whenever a thread is inactive for a span of time. Thread is inactive for a span of time. That means not permanently. We are keeping our thread in the waiting state for some time. Right? That is called as, it is not permanently completed. It is just keeping in a waiting state for some time. That is called as blocked or waiting state. Either the thread is in the blocked state or in the waiting state. We can block the thread or we will keep our thread in a waiting state for some time. For example, see, suppose there are two threads A and B. Suppose a thread A, it want to print some data. Thread A want to print some data, right, from the printer. What we need to print? We need a printer, right? With the help of printer, A wants to print some data. At the same time, the other thread, let's say B, is using printer. B is already using printing. Right? Now what is the problem here? Can you guess it? Thread A needs printer, but thread B is already using the printer. It is printing. What should the thread A to do? What is the option? We have to keep our thread A in the waiting state, right? Because the resource is not available. The thread A should wait for some time. to get the printer. That is why we are keeping our thread A in the waiting state. We are keeping for some time. It is not permanently going to be there in the waiting state. Right? Therefore, thread A has to wait for thread B to use the printer until the printer is free. Thus, thread A is in the black state. A thread in the black state is unable to perform any execution. Right? When the thread A will be again coming to the active state, when the printer is free, our thread scheduler will allocate thread scheduler. What is the job of the thread scheduler? It should allocate the resource to the waiting thread. Waiting thread again will become active. Now I hope you understand the black and waiting state. Now timed waiting. Sometimes the waiting state can be timed waiting. What is the meaning of timed waiting? Timed waiting is nothing but sometimes waiting leads to starvation. I will give you, suppose here two threads A and B are there. Thread A is in running state. Thread A is in running state. Thread B is in waiting state. Because of some CPU. CPU is with thread A. Thread A is in running state. Thread B is in waiting state. We don't know how much time the thread A is going to be executed, right? It may be executed for unlimited time. It may be executed for infinite time. That means what? Thread B is there in a waiting state forever. It will not going to get CPU any time. That is called as what? Starvation. The thread B is waiting unlimitedly. This condition is called as starvation. It is waiting unlimitedly for the resource or for the CPU. This problem is called as starvation problem. Right? Waiting for its starvation. For example, just I have given the same scenario I have explained here. Like, what is the solution for this starvation? Any thread should not starve for the resource for unlimited time, right? It is not good. We have to give, after some time it should get the resource. That is we have to provide the solution. In this scenario, to avoid such scenario or to avoid starvation problem, a timed waiting state is given to thread B. Thus, thread lies in the waiting state for a specific span of time and not forever. Only for specific time it should wait. It should not wait forever. A real example of timed waiting is when we invoke sleep method on a specific thread. That the sleep method puts the thread in a timed wait state. After the time runs out, the thread wakes up, starts execution from when it has left earlier. That means what we will do? Suppose currently thread A is executing, we will keep our thread A in some sleep mode. Sleep mode means we will temporarily keep the thread A in some waiting state. That is called as sleep method. We are not keeping the thread A permanently in the waiting state. Right? That is nothing but timed waiting. Okay. How we will create the threads in Java? There are two ways we can create threads in Java. First one is create a thread by implementing runnable interface. This runnable interface is provided by our Java software, right? JDK. It is already available in our java.lang.star package, right? java.lang.star. This interface is already available. We need to implement our interface. We already know that the interfaces can be used in our class, right? By using the implements keyword, right? If you want to make your class as a threads, if you want to make your class as a thread class, you want to create multiple threads in your class, you can create multiple threads by implementing the runnable interface. If your class is intended to be executed as a thread, then you can by implementing a runnable interface. You will need to follow three basic steps. What are the three basic steps we have to follow to create our threads? First step one is implementing run method. There is a method called run, public void run. Public void run. This is method defined in our runnable interface without any body, right? We need to give body to our this method. Whenever we are creating threads in that thread program, we need to override this method. What is the meaning of method overriding? We need to provide the body for this method in our thread application. Right? This code will be executed as part of a thread. As a first step, you need to implement a run method provided by runnable interface. This run method is provided by runnable interface. This method provides an entry point for the thread, and you will put your complete business logic inside this method. This run method is an entry point for our thread. Whenever you are created thread, right? First we will create the thread. After creation of the thread, we will start this thread with the help of the start method, which is provided by our thread. Right? After this, whenever you are starting your thread with the start method, it will call the run method. In this run method, we are writing our logic. Whatever the business logic we want to execute in the thread, that will be written, that should be right in the run method. Whenever you are starting this, it will automatically call the run method and your thread will be executed. This is what we are explaining in this step 1. What is the step 2? Okay. Step 2 is instantiate a thread object as second step. We have to create the object of thread class. Right? You will instantiate a thread object using the following constructor. With the help of the constructor, we can create the object of thread class. We can create the object of thread class. Right? In this constructor, we can give thread object name. We can pass 2 parameters in this thread constructor. First one is the thread object. Next one is the thread name. We can give string, some name of the thread. In the next step 3, call the thread using start method. Just now I have explained, right? Whatever the thread object you have created, you have to call the start method. Right? Once the thread object is created, you can start it by calling start method, which executes a call to run method. Whenever you have started your thread, it will call to the run method. Follow is a simple syntax of start method. What we will do, this is a start. Void start. Now we will see the example. Okay, Java thread example by implementing the runnable interface. Right, first we are giving a file name called multi3.java. Our file name is multi3.java. We are creating a class called, class name is multi3. It is implements runnable interface. Because it is the interface, we have to use the implements keyword. Right, implements runnable, and just now I explained we need to override the run method. Right, this is the logic of the thread. What we are writing, just we are printing some statement, system.out.println, thread is running. That's it. Next we are writing the main method, public static void main string args. Here we are creating the object of our thread class. Multi3 m1 is equal to new multi3, and we are passing this object as a reference to our thread class object. We need to pass this our class object into the thread class reference, right? Thread t1 is equal new thread of M1. Previously I have explained already. If you come to the before slide, you can understand this. Right? Here see thread. We need to pass the thread object here. That's what we are following in the examples. This is object name. Thread object name. We need to pass into the thread class object difference. Okay, next see our example. Now we are passing this our thread class object into the thread class. Now what is the next step we have to do after creation of thread? T1 is our thread here. After creation of thread, we need to start method, right? We have to call the start method with the thread. T1 dot start. Whenever you start this, it will call the run method. Now, what is the output we are getting? Thread is running, right? I hope you understand this. Now, next, what is the next? Our Java is providing one more way to create the threads. That is the second way to create thread is to create a new class that extends thread class. A class here we are extending the thread class, that is THREAD. This is the base class for the thread, right? We can extend this thread class to create our own threads, right? First step 1. Here also we need to override the run method. This run method is also available in the base class, that is thread. That method should be overridden in our created thread class. You will need to override run method available in thread class. This method provides an entry point for the thread, and you will put your complete business logic in this method. We have to write our business logic or code, whatever you want to execute as part of your thread inside the run method, just as before example, right? First, what is that method called? Public void run. What is the step 2? Call thread using start method. Same way, we need to call the start method. Once the thread object is created, you can start it by calling start method, which execute a call to run method. Whenever you call the start method on the thread object, it will call the run method. Same as the previous example. Okay? Now I will show the example for this. See this example, what we are doing? Here we are creating the file name multi.java. What is the class name? Class name is multi. We are extending thread class. Extends thread. Here we need to override the run method. The run method we are giving the body to the run method which is already available in this base class thread. Right? This is called as overridden. Right? Just we are writing a simple statement that is running. Now we are writing the main method. In this main method we are creating the object for our multi class. Right? What is the difference between implementing runnable and here? Here we can directly create the thread object without passing into the thread class as a parameter. Right? Multi T1 is equal new multi. Next, our thread is what here? T1 is our thread. We will start with the help of the start method. T1 dot start. When you start this thread, it will call the run method. Now it is giving the output thread is running.